have to figure out why this thing always starts me off on only me. Blessings, blessings, blessings. It's not showing me who you are yet. Thank you for joining us. We are looking forward to our time together. Wait a minute and give some others time to come on because we're not staying on long tonight. We're just piggybacking off of what my bestie did last week, and she'll be back with us on next week to continue these emotions. Hey, Shay. Anxiety or panic attack. Sometimes people confuse the two. I guess their symptoms overlap one another, and it's why it's so easily disguised as something that it's not. But there is definitely a difference between an anxiety attack and a panic attack. I've been better, but I'm alive. That's why we're here tonight. Decided not to complain about it, just ride it out. Thanks for asking. Hope you're doing well. So, as I was researching and I was looking up these things so that I could better understand and make sure that I'm good at what I'm giving you to take away from the conversation, you'll be surprised at how many people really didn't know. I can't say that I always knew that there was a difference between anxiety and panic attack. It was only after, getting deeper within my therapy sessions that I realized that I had been experiencing both. And the fact that you can describe certain things that happened before, it would really help to determine which one you pretty much deal with the most. Not saying that you should self diagnose yourself, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you're able to say these things to whoever might be counseling you, whether it be therapist, hey, excuse me, hey, it might be a therapist, or someone that you just talk to about it. But an anxiety attack and a panic attack, sometimes people use them as one thing, and it's not. It's not. It's not. Um, what I would suggest, hey, hey, I saw you a little man walking early. Well, we saw you a little man strolling down the street. Um, like I said, I didn't always know that there was a difference between the two. And after finding that out, it better helps you to cope with one thing. It helps with coping skills. And then two, it's just good to have a true understanding. Hey cousin, hey Tika, a true understanding. Now, we never come on and tell y'all we the only, authority on whatever we're talking about. We could never say that because we have to research and get our information just like you. We're just a vehicle. Um, and so we don't want you to take away from here saying, well, it's got to be this because this is what Apostle them said. Most times we are true to form, meaning that we have already experienced it. And so therefore we have that type of knowledge to pass on to you. But we like to have it where it's not just our personal situations that uh, help us answer, but that we took time to research. And so the difference, anxiety. It says, according to Cleveland Clinic in health.org, it says that certain stressors often trigger anxiety attacks and they may build up gradually. In contrast, a panic attack typically happens unexpectedly and suddenly. And so, if I had to say, for instance, uh, what I know to be true with anxiety attacks, um, just out of nowhere, a burst of sweat, um, clamminess, um, feeling closed in, um, and nervous. Did I leave anything out? And then when it comes to a panic attack, it's like, oh my God, this person is just like freaking out because something could have been said in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it triggered um, their immediate reaction. They didn't have no warning where they just started. They didn't get the normal setups that anxiety provides for you, which is that sudden sweat or the feeling that the floor is dropping from under you. Um, Lay says, mine makes me feel like I can't breathe. Now, Lay, do you know whether you have anxiety or panic? Have you been able to differentiate as to whether you taking one more so than the other? I'm telling you, these anxiety attacks, woo, that make you feel like you're having a heart attack. Um, and they're real. A lot of people don't share what they're feeling because people downplay it, like, oh, it can't be that serious, or uh, what could you be going through in your life right now that would make this part of you show up? And you would be surprised, what people are dealing with. I'm not sure they started after my parents passed. So other than it making you feel like you can't breathe, what else is going on? What other things are happening to you at that time? Shay, it's good that you know now that yours is definitely anxiety. And Janasia says, I know that for me, I do a lot of overthinking. When I'm rushing, I tend to start forgetting things and tripping over stuff or falling. So other than the clumsy Tanasia that we know, which one of these are you feeling like is closer to where you are, Tanasia? Are you saying you deal with anxiety or maybe panic? Shanae says hers felt like she was having a stroke or something. Um, and Lay says that my mind races and I overthink. All of these things pretty much go along with anxiety. Correct, Apostle? Um, I got my bestie here. She's not in front of y'all, but we still in this together. Um, Anxiety allows you time to say what's going on before it happens. Panic just it happens. Y'all could be sitting next to each other and look like all is going well, and then boom, they off to the left somewhere. And it takes time to come back from either one of them. Um, Tanasia said she feel like hers is more panic, and I would have to agree with you. I just wanted to know if you were going to know, because sometimes knowing is the best answer we could give ourselves for healing. Many people are going through and they have no word to put with it. There is no word that they can use that, no one word that will define what they're going through. So, like for me, if I'm going through different things and my bestie says to me, well, what's wrong? And I say nothing. She says, that's not the truth. So I'd rather you say you don't want to talk about it. And it's not that I don't want to talk about it. I really don't like for anybody to have to wonder what I'm saying. So if I can't put a word to what I'm feeling, I'd rather not tell you, because then I'm grasping and you're really trying to be there for me and I'm not giving you, good information. There are, according to very well mind, there are 3 things that you can do when you are experiencing what you believe to be an anxiety attack. 3 rules. They call it the 333 rule for anxiety. The 333 rule for anxiety. And that is identify 3 things you can see, 3 things you can hear, and 3 ways you can move your body. You told them that last week. There you go. There you go. Bessie says she gave you all this information last week. So in case you forgot, I see Tika's already writing this down. The 333 rule for anxiety. Just space out the threes. It's not 333. It's 333 rule. Hyphens in between those threes. The 333 rule for anxiety. For those of you who didn't hear last week when Bestie gave it to you, says identify 3 things you can see. Thank you, Tanisha, for writing so quickly. 3 things you can hear, and 3 ways you can move your body. And I was trying to remember an anxiety attack that I had, and I'm not having a good result. I was trying to even remember whether that was something that I tried to do. Like, if were there 3 things that I could see? Probably if I had to, I would have to say people, 3 different people, and because usually I'm somewhere, either in church, excuse me, or function for family. And so my eyes are wandering, but I don't know that I've ever focused on that one person, except for when my bestie will stand in front of me and like try to center me. So Shanae says, I really don't care to be around a lot of people. I have trouble speaking in front of people. Well, sorry, y'all. Somebody else had that issue, and I believe his name was Moses. I could be wrong, but I'm almost certain. And God did not accept that as a reason. And so I bring that over to you, missionary Shanae. Hear the word missionary Shanae, because you have to be in front of people at some point in order to cater to them. Forgive my cough, y'all. Yeah. Well, since you're saying that that's why you always sit towards the back, I guess we're going to have to make sure you're in the front. We're going to make sure you're in the front. Missionary, that person who goes and dances for all of these outreach programs, or that person who assisted with going to feed the people down at Penn Station, that person who dances with passion, that person, that missionary, that person who is willing to put herself aside for somebody else. It's not that you have to be in the forefront all the time, but there comes a time when you have to be ready for it. Sometimes you won't always have to go to people. There are going to be some people that come to you, and you have to be ready. You have to be ready. We got to have more than the 1, 2, 3 lines that we're used to saying, and moving on to the next conversation. There are some people who you would be surprised that would like to hear what you have to say. They're not looking for perfect speech. They're not looking for perfect grammar. They're just looking for somebody that's willing to not just listen, but talk to them as well. Not talk at them, but talk to them and let them know that they can relate to them where they are. But anxiety is really, really big in the church. And unfortunately, people are ashamed to admit that that's what they have. And I don't understand, if we are the church and we are the hospital where people are supposed to be able to come, tell us what's wrong, and then we be part of the solution. How can we do that if we're not willing to make the hospital the same place for us? Every now and then, you hear my bestie and I talk about, what we could and could not do, in our days of coming up. Half the stuff that we allow to go on in church, even being as tangible as we are as leaders, it just was unheard of in our days. I mean, you might take a whole month, and by the time you do get to see the pastor, you done already figured it out, but, in doing something different and becoming more tangible, I'm finding that people become too common and they don't know how to respect who you are. And when you call them on it, then they want to have a lot to say to other people about what they think. And so there are some things that happen in our lives that really trigger, as the Well Clinic said, that trigger some of the stresses that we go through. And for me, just being able to breathe, because this word is kind of new for me as far as things that I'm dealing with health wise. And so after finally getting over the fact that it has been attached to me, from the medical field, I still believe the report of the Lord. I am not dumb to the fact, nor am I naive. I have total faith in God, but I believe that doctors are here for a reason. You don't have to do everything they tell you to do, but just to not go and that something's going on would leave the impression that you really don't care about those who have to care for you. So anxiety gives you warning signs. Panic does not. Anxiety gives you warning signs. Panic attacks don't. And Tanasia already gave us the 3 things that we could do, the 3-3 rule for anxiety. And I went on a lot of mental well-being sites, because my bestie gave you guys a wealth of information, and I don't want to do any less. I want to give you a continuation, and so that you can see that you're worth looking into. Tanisha has a good point here. Your issues do not disqualify you, and that's a fact. Everybody that we could go back and look in time and consider Christ, he always chose somebody that was jacked up, or had low self-esteem, or wasn't even thinking about church. Matter of fact, they was doing, who was it? Matthew was the tax collector, cheating people out their money, but that's who he had follow him, So that is true. Your issues do not disqualify you. They actually make you a better candidate for the job, I would think. Tanasia says that she's been studying it, even though you feel inadequate to do so, a certain or what God had called you to do. Your issue can't justify, no more excuses. And so God, they use that, they play around with that word justification, just as if I never sinned. Because God continues to use you despite what you feel might be an inadequacy, or a reason why he would never think about you. That might be the very reason why he's called you, because he wants you to know that there's still room for you and there's still use for you in his kingdom. It says another reason for that: some people tease me and how I say certain things, that I'm originally from the Midwest. When I open my mouth, people automatically ask me if I'm from the South. Sometimes I'm offended. I think that work I think that works into my anxiety as far as speaking in front of people. Girl, um, missionary, let me tell you something. You are not the only person, believe it or not, who gets teased about the way they say certain things. My bestie got certain words, you know, and I'm not going to give them to y'all right now, but my bestie got certain words, and she and I will laugh about it. I don't let nobody else get that off, but she and I laugh about it. And there are some ways I say things. There oftentimes people see me on the street or in the store when it's customer service time and they ask me if I'm from the South, you know. And so again, there are some things, if that were the case, my bestie wouldn't even be preaching if she would let things that she felt, was inadequacy for her in order to do the work that God had given her. She is a beast. I put her up against the best of the best, and you would just never know. You would just never know, because when it's that time, God gives her what to say and how to say it. And sometimes the audience needs somebody to show that they don't have it all together, or they can't pronounce all those these, thou, those, and the names in the Bible of these kids, like Mephibosheth, things like that. You know how long it took for me to practice that word, but I'm just saying, there's some folk who are, saying, oh, okay, I can identify with them because they're not trying to be something they're not. They're not they're not afraid to let people know that they don't get that. And I don't know if many of you have been in our circles, but a lot of the folk that come around us feel comfortable showing that they can't do. Would you not? Because they be asking us to help them pronounce them. And that's what we do. We help us one another. It's not for us to make fun of. And this is where anxiety and stuff comes in, because people work on your idiosyncrasies and forget that they have their own. And so anxiety, again, going back to the very beginning with the Well Clinic, that said that there are stressors, that, cause that anxiety attack. And so we want to be mindful of that. You want to be mindful. Lay, you feel like which thing a lot? Because between Shay and Tika, they saying a lot. So which one do you feel like a lot, Lay? Tika Tanisha says she says the ST word's wrong. There, I know a lot. I ain't gonna do it. I know somebody who does the same thing. And then there are those who have what is it, cleft lip, or when the tongue doesn't come all the way out. So when they say L words, their tongue never comes out. So it's like it's stuck. It goes right by their teeth. And so each person has something about themselves that, if they really had a choice, they probably would do something about it. But since they don't really have the choice nor the circumstances or the right stuff to do it, they just go on with it. You'll be fine. Not feeling qualified. Okay, Lay. And so, with things like that, we want to, build up our self-esteem. We build up our self-esteem. We have affirmations that we say all the time. Between Apostle and myself, we tell you guys about the affirmation mugs, affirmation plaques, affirmation shirts. Wear it till it just look like it's going to fall off, if that's what it's going to take for you to walk around and having people look and seeing what you got on your shirt and reminding you that you are those things. If we don't believe it about ourselves, then yes, like Chase Missionary Shanae said, people laugh at her or make her feel, bad about her, the way she says certain things, and they tease her. People don't realize how much their words affect people, and it's like a little too late. What's the movie? A Day Late, a Dollar Short. You should have thought about that before you spoke, so that you wouldn't have to wonder if you're part of the reason why somebody's not as productive as they could be, especially if you saw that they were one way before you said something. When I be preaching, I be stuttering and fumbling over the words, sounding like a Spanish person. Uh-uh. Why you got to be a Spanish person, though? Many of us, myself included, trying to, um, we're reading, and we got this message, and we know the people need to know where we're coming from, but we're talking so fast sometimes, or trying to make sure that we're not up too long, and we start missing words, or we start running in, having run-on sentences, or we started out at the top of the paper, we went somewhere, and then when we came back, we didn't know where to go on the paper. All of us, you know, have experienced, those of us who speak it, whether you're a teacher, even a student, because in elementary school, they used to bring the kids up to the front of the class, and we had to do show and tell. We had to do, man, what's the essays? We had to do the essays about our summers, and what if you that child that never got to go anywhere, and you're listening to everybody else talk about the summers that they had. That used to be me sometimes, because I mean, it's not that I didn't get to go anywhere, but it was always church. Even the amusement parks and everything was always church. It was never like I went with the kids at school or anything like that. And so, I used to get teased about things like that. My communication skills, my communication skills are not that great, but I'm working on it. And hey, daughter, I got another daughter on here. You know, um, Working on your communication skills can carry you a long way, not just in church, but it can open doors for you that you have no idea. Um, you could be a motivational person, which means you could go around to schools, or you can go around to women's facilities, the society, and you might be that person who is in front of them and encouraging them, to be their best person, and letting them know, that they don't have to be ashamed. They went in, they served their time, and now they have a right to be able to live a good life now that they've done what was necessary according to what the law says. And so now, they need that person in their corner that says, you could do it, you're going to make it, don't give up on yourself. I think that we just tend to forget. We put more on one side than the other, and all of us got some stuff messing around inside of us that, if it was truth be told, people wouldn't have nothing to do with us. And so, but believe it or not, those are the kinds of things, that shame, that guilt, that lead you into these anxiety attacks and these panic attacks, because it's like, you feel like you have no way out. It's sometimes it sounds like 50 people talking to you, and it's only one person in front of you. There's so many different things that people experience. Not everybody experiences the same warning signs for their anxiety, or have when they say, when you're in therapy, they say, well, what happened before that? If I knew that, I don't think I would have had to have this session today. I don't know. I just know when it happened. And this is what I felt like after the fact. And that was my answer to them for the first a good month or so, because that was the truth. I didn't really, because I didn't know that that's what was getting ready to happen. I didn't think to take note, of what was going on before me, in that moment. And so now, I can say to somebody else, hey, you know, try to remember what you were doing, or what happened, or who said what, if at all anything that might help determine what kind of things send you into that place. My communication skills are not too great either. I can sit in a room full of people and never say anything unless someone asks me something. I know that to be true. But since you know that that's what you do, guess we need to call on you a little bit more. Um, we don't want to hide from ourselves. Yeah, we don't want to hide from ourselves. There's a part of you that you never allow people to see because you're too ashamed of who that is. And then we had that one week where we talked about, loving somebody, flaws and all. When you really care for someone, um, flaws and all, when you in it for the real deal, flaws and all, understanding that it's not going to always be a perfect day for us. We're not going to always see eye to eye. There's going to be times we wish the other one would go drop off the face of the earth. There's going to be times we wish we never met. There are so many things that happen, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't be found without you in a million years. And so um, we have to get to a place where we're comfortable with who we are. If anxiety happens to be a diagnosis that you must live with through, for the rest of these days that you are here amongst us, then be your best self while you're dealing with it. There are some things that you could do that it kind of like would decrease. Um, did you give those things out? Um, Decrease, those things, because journaling is one, and understanding and writing about what you're feeling right then during. I know it sounds crazy because you're like, if I'm having an anxiety attack, how am I right? But when you feel that stuff starting to come, like if you feel like you starting to feel closed in, or if you feel like somebody's just moving their lips but you don't hear the words, or you just real sweaty and it's cold, and like whatever, you can remember to write before the attack comes on. Sometimes you can prevent your own attacks by learning what things trigger you, and what that trigger looks like once it happens. So we got the 333 rule, excuse me, for anxiety, and that came from the verywellmind.com. And then we have from the NHS mental well-being site, ways to manage panic and anxiety. Practice calming breathing exercises. Again, this is what the mental well-being site says about how to manage, ways we can manage. It didn't say they're the only way, but ways we can manage panic and anxiety. Ways we can manage panic and anxiety. Practice calming breathing exercises. Keep up your regular activities. Try not to restrict yourself. That's a question that I'm always asked when I go to session. It was like, what's going on with your activities? Have you felt like not being bothered, or they don't, nothing draws your attention anymore, or do you feel like you're going to harm yourself, or they have to ask you those questions, even though sometimes you're looking at them like I'm sitting right here, but they have to ask you, because just because you're not saying it to me right now does not mean that it's not what you feel. And so it is their job to pull that out of you. um, Try to work out if something is making you stress. Try to work out if something is making you stress, because stress can make panic attacks worse. Try to work out if something is making you stress. To me, they're being redundant. Regular exercise. It helps manage stress, tension, and mood, and it can improve your confidence. I want to give you guys some, stuff. So I'm telling y'all, it's not just me. We do actually look at this, but sometimes you want to be just sure What panic disorder feels like, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, a sudden wave of fear or discomfort, or a sense of losing control even when there is no clear danger or trigger. Again, what panic disorder feels like. You said, I thought you said panic attack is still a disorder. What panic disorder feels like. A sudden wave of fear or discomfort, or a sense of losing control even when there is no clear danger or trigger. My daughter says, I found out that stress worsens acid reflux. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Thank you. This goes back to last week when we were saying that different things that we're internalizing and feeling, we're messing with our organs. But yeah, stress and all of that messes with your acid reflux. Did you say that last week? I didn't recall that. And people with acid reflux, the last thing we need is anything else other than that. Um, we read to you last week. I was trying to go back in my notes. Um, what parts of what organs or what body parts are affected by when we're having these different types of emotions? And so I don't see my notes, and so I'm not going to make it up. We'll come back with it another time. Um, and going with what my daughter just said about her acid reflux, it says, what are silent panic attacks? What are silent panic attacks? And this is from the sandstonecare.com site on anxiety. A silent panic attack includes internal symptoms like a fear of loss of control, chest pain, shaking, dizziness, difficulty breathing, increased heart rate, lightheadedness, numbness of extremities, nausea, feelings of detachment, and or hot flashes. That's a lot. That was a mouthful. And that's a silent panic attack. Jesus help. I know some of you saying, but I'm dealing with some of that right now. Shanae says, lately I haven't been motivated to do anything. I will sit in the darkest room with nothing on. I've been trying to crochet. I don't leave the house unless I'm going to an appointment. So if the house is where you find that you have to be right now, you have to make your house a safe place. It doesn't have to be a dark place. You can make it a safe place, especially now that the kids are in school. That is time for you to zone in on you, read some scripture, speak some affirmations into your spirit. Don't just sit home and accept what's going on and let that be your plight, but stay positive in the midst of a negative situation. It's something that we have to do for ourselves. No one else can do that for us. No one else can do that for us. We have to ask God for the strength to do it. Having done that, I'm telling you, it can be done and it will work if you would allow it to work. Not being motivated, I can tell you about 15 people right off the top of my head who are very close to me that go through that all the time. Sometimes you just don't want to, you don't feel like doing anything. Sometimes it's because you're so used to doing everything that you don't have a breath. And then when you have a breath, you rather use it doing nothing. But if you find yourself in a dark room, then if you can tell me you can sit in the darkest room, then you can open that curtain. You can open that blind, you know, the window shade. Sometimes the days are not always sunny. They're cloudy. So you don't need to be in a dark room. The cloudiness, could satisfy that. You could use that time and put some worship music on, some jazz music. It depends on what you like. Instrumental music. They have YouTube soak screen channels that just give you healing scriptures 24/7. There are some things that we can do to help ourselves stay out of a dangerous place. It is a lot. It is a lot. These silent panic attacks, I'm like, I get some of those. I didn't know that that was considered going through in silent because I'll be very verbal about it. Oops. What is going on? This thing pops up all the time. Ooh. There you go. All right. Sorry, something popped in front of my screen. So yeah, I really don't want to say a lot more because my bestie did a very good job last week. Um, I was just trying to add a few things that we might not have considered, and sometimes, and this is just not necessarily anxiety. This is me just talking to you, saying sometimes we're our worst enemy. Um, Once I realized that what I was experiencing uh, would be eventually diagnosed as anxiety, I was trying to, in my heart of hearts, figure out what did I have to be anxious about. I spend more time, my bestie and I, helping folks stay out of this situation. So, how do I now find myself in it? And so, one thing I am guilty of is taking on other folks' stuff. My bestie doesn't really care for that aspect of my life, um, but she's been patient. But it's just um, what we have to do. This is called loving the me I see. And there's no way we can ever get to a place of loving ourselves if we won't let go of ourselves, if we won't forgive ourselves, if we won't pray for ourselves, if we won't strengthen ourselves. Some of the things that we're waiting for others to do to bring us this kind of gratitude is in your own self. David had to encourage himself when he got to a place where he needed it and there was no one there. And so the church is not going to always be there. Bestie not going to always be within reach. Kids are not going to always be free because they now got their own family that they're dealing with. And so we have to find a way where we can be all right with ourselves. And the more we try to do that with the help of God, we will find that some of these diagnoses will disappear. They will, or it will be under control. You won't be so quick to receive the negativity. If someone brings negativity your way, you would find a way to turn it into a positive. Does it mean that because I've decided to do this, that everything is just going to fall into place? No, no, not at all. But it's a start. You can control. You can control. There's a thermostat and a thermometer. You can control your environment. For most women who are married, they are already thermostats. They already have the temperature set for when hubby comes in. And some men do the same for when the wife comes. But we have to get to a place where we love ourselves. I can't say that enough. Most of us are guilty of not loving ourselves. It's not that we don't know how to love others, because that's just it. We've spent so much time making sure others felt loved and still feel loved that we forgot we need love too. And so because we didn't find out until we got lost in others, now we got to find our way back to ourselves. And we don't have to feel guilty about that. You want peace just like you're trying to make sure they have peace. You don't have to live with anxiety. You don't. There are some things that you can do on a regular basis that when you see that that part of you is trying to rise, come against it. For those of you who know how to pray, that's the time to pray. Not after it's come and gone. When it starts coming, pray. Bind it. Send it back. And declare to yourself that you're going to have this good day. Declare to yourself that you're going to have this good night. Declare to yourself that you're going to have a good marriage. Declare to yourself that you're going to have a good relationship. Declare to yourself. You believe it so that you can cause others to believe you. You convince yourself. Don't wait for others to do it. It might not happen. And then you'll be disappointed, hurt, left, unappreciated, unnoticed. See all these words I can find? When we are expecting other people to do what we have the power to do for ourselves. I'm not saying that there will never be a time when you would need someone or want someone, but don't let it be the 99%. That's giving too much power to somebody else other than God to control your life. So, as we get ready to go off for tonight, I just did not want to leave you out there for those who had more to say about it, because it's anxiety is just more real than people would want to admit. And so it is our desire, it is our heartfelt wishes that if anxiety and panic attacks are a part of your life right now, one, find some prayer time for you. One of the very first things I told you when Loving to Me IC started, find some time for yourself. Make a date for yourself. That's why a lot of people are on overload and on fumes. I'm talking to myself as well. My son just told me the same thing, not even 2 days ago. But when you find that this is important, you have to find out whether you feel you're important. And if you feel you're important, be important enough to find time for yourself. 15 minutes here, 30 minutes there. All you have to do is let the people that are around you know, hey, at this particular time, on this particular day, this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to need y'all to work it out. I'm going to need y'all to work it out. It's not a lot of time, but it's a lot of needed time. And when you get into that routine, and then it would become more second nature for you to do that. There's nothing wrong with you taking time to love yourself. You have to love yourself. How do you spend so much time loving on everyone else and forget that you need it too? So again, if you find that you yourself are someone who is dealing with either anxiety or panic attacks, find you some prayer time. Find you a journal and write. Practice some breathing exercises that you would know to do when you feel these things coming on, so that you don't have to wonder who's looking at you or why everybody's staring at you. You'll do those breathing, and nobody even has to know that that's what's going on. Find some coping skills. I'm telling you, it'll be beneficial for you. And then you might be able to then identify it in someone else and be able to encourage them. It's sad to say, but we got to come to the knowledge that nothing we go through is even for ourselves. But it is for those that we might come in contact with. So we want to be able to have a story of victory, or at least a story of get through, not just going through. And I promise you, you can be that person. So keep my bestie in your prayers. Keep me in your prayers. We're going to end right now. It's been a long day for us, and so we should have already turned down. We will see you next week with another emotion. We'll try to um, let you know in advance what emotion it is. But take care of you. The best way to take care of somebody else is to take care of you. My children say it to me all the time, and I'm finding out whether I like it or not, it's got to happen. So, unless you got a bestie like I do. So, we love you. We are ever praying for you. We are looking forward to the best you. We will see you on next week. God say the same. So, those of you, excuse me, who are in the Newark area on September 21st, my bestie is taking part in a prophetic intercessory. That's this Saturday. Oh, okay. So the 21st is the next prophetic encounter we're going to have. Prophetic extreme. Prophetic is going to be out, out. I mean, just out, out the box. I'm telling you, you want to be there. And it's going to be held at Sardis Temple at 505-508 18th Avenue. Sardis Temple sits on the corner of 18th Avenue and 11th Street. 18th Avenue and 12th Street. 18th Avenue and 12th Street, right on the corner. My bestie is having a prophetic service, and I'm telling you, the preacher is Apostle LaKenya Trollinger. If you don't know who she is, look her up on Facebook. She is a preaching, prophesying somebody, and we're looking forward to what God is going to do in the building. And so, come on out September 21st, Sardis Temple on the corner of 12th Street and 18th Avenue. You can't miss it. It takes up both sides of the street, 18th Avenue and 12th, and the name is in big writing on the church. Meet us there at 5 o'clock on September 21st. You'll be glad you came. We love you. We believe in you. Continue to love you unapologetically. Just don't make your loving you be disrespectful to anyone else. Remember how you were. Remember what you expected. Remember what you desired. And make sure you're offering the same thing. We love you. And until next week, see you then.